that the most current development in the country right now is the 2019 census report, the sixth in this country. And of course, President Uhuru Kenyatta yesterday, while receiving the report, commended the team that was involved in their exercise, also confirming that it is the first census that was fully of course, financed by his administration or by the government. Now, this is something that also I have to update you on, is that this census was, broke the record in Africa, having been, conducted and the results released within a period of less than 3 months. Now, Kenyans have reacted to this report, including leaders, Tharaka Nithi, certain counties, amongst others. Because of these same developments, today and tonight, in this particular bulletin, I'm joined live in studio by Wellington Ouma, who is here to discuss this particular events occurring in the country. He is a political analyst and scientist. Now, Wellington, thank you so much for being here. It's good to, of course, acknowledge that you're a young citizen and very keen on the development of this country.
Sure.
It's good to have you.
Thank you. I really appreciate.
You have been following the census?
So much, very close.
Also believing that you came out and exercised your patriotic, patriotism.
Yeah, I mean, this is an issue that normally takes time before it comes. And so when it comes, we really want to be in it and see how it goes. Mm-hmm. So I was one of the people who closely monitored and followed this.
It's good to know that you were involved. So before we even talk about the results, how was the exercise, however, from your angle? Did you feel like it was just? Was it done well? Was there civic education, through the exercise and before the exercise? How did you feel about the exercise before we even talk about the report?
I think we need to first appreciate that this census 2019 was probably one of the best done in Africa. And it was also one of the census that involved a lot of use of technology. Yes. Initially, it was not the same way it happened this time. So for that, we really appreciate. Mm-hmm. And secondly, there has been a lot of discussions and debate that's around census. And there are a lot of expectations from Kenyans. And some people even suggested that Kenyans are about 50 million. Mm-hmm. And probably the result was short of 2-point-something million. And so I have to confess that the census was well done, and the government took initiatives to inform the public. If you can remember, there were several discussions and publications, mm-hmm. and the alert from the media houses that were done. And for that, I strongly believe that maybe they did not get it up to the 100% that we may have expected, but it was well organized. So for me, I was satisfied.
I like that when you say for me, because there are people who came out and said, well, people with disability were not really well involved. There were not people, actually on the ground to talk to people or communicate to people with disability. However, I do not know if that got to you as well. However, there are now things on politicizing this. The census is meant to bring development, but now we're hearing a lot on ethical lines of we expected the Luos to be this number, or now Tharaka Nithi, is saying we expected to be more, and now people are also now making this look like 2022 politics. What is your political science, view on this kind of politicizing right now?
Essentially, the census, the reason for census is for the government to plan for its activities, either for short term or a long term. Mm-hmm. And that is the main agenda, the main reason why census are done. However, if you follow the political history of Kenya, and of the recent past elections that we've had, we know that elections in Kenya are a hot cake. There are points that people are so much interested in because the numbers plays critical role in Kenyan politics. And as a result of that, politicians are interested in numbers. And that one also helped them to identify key areas that they would need to put more effort in going for votes. So the 2019 census, you know that we are nearing elections in 2022. And
let alone the elections in 2022, we have Kibra by-elections.
the Kibra by-election, yes. True, yes. Now you will realize that because of the elections that are there, both the by-election in Kibra and the general elections in 2022, actually any serious politicians must get concerned of the numbers, because without the numbers, you can't win. And without the numbers, you know, the Kenyan politics is based on ethnic coalitions, you see. So the coalitions are formed that are around the ethnic communities.
Okay.
And no one would want to go to an ethnic community without the number. So if your number are less, then probably the interest will also be less on that side. And so that is why it is very, very important for politicians to use this 2019 census to plan also for their campaigns and also for where they would want to go for.
So if I'm getting you correctly, what you're saying is that politicizing this could not entirely be on the negative. It is okay.
It is okay.
Plan political, sentiments.
Politics is a job.
Okay.
Apart from just going around and talking to people, politics have employed people. The MPs are employed. They are employed because of the politics. It is the politics that have employed them.
Absolutely.
So they earn their incomes based on politics. And as a result of that, it is a job. And when you are seeking for a job, you have to do all that is required, including doing the necessary. The necessary here, you use any means possible to get the job.
Right.
And as a politicians, you don't take for granted the numbers. And that is why it is very important, the census that they have now known, where they have to put on their efforts in.
I'm quite concerned as a Kenyan, of course, to just mention that this is also supposed to help in resource allocation. Tharaka Nithi, I keep referring to that because it's one of the counties that has come out really strongly to react and say, you know what, this needs to be revoked and you have to redo the census, all right? This is a proposal they're giving. How expensive will that be? Is this going to cost the government again? You do know that we have deficits. We have debts as well, and this is still politics, this is still governance. When certain counties, for example, we do not know how many of them will challenge the report. If they come out and say revoke it, can they revoke it? Can it be cancelled? Can we redo this?
Thank you so much for that question. We are aware that the last census that we had, and there are about 27 counties, constituencies that were given special attention. Even though they did not meet the threshold. For what they did is that there is something, the population quota, called the population quota. Population quota is reached at by taking the total number of population, the census, and divide that one with the total number of constituents, which is 290. So by that we had like 37 point something million, the last census that we had. So when they divided that with the 290 counties, constituencies, that is when they got around 164,000. So that was the number that a constituency had to have.
Okay.
However, now we have 47 million. So which means that they will again take that one and divide with the 290 constituencies. That one gives around 143,000. Now, on the whether, of course, there are a lot of concern from these countries that haven't reached the threshold. However, I think there is they don't need to worry much, because some countries, there is a special attention that are given to some counties, because in a nutshell they are not so much able to meet the number. You see, so that is why there are special features based on geographical features that are there in that location. So I know that as a result of that, there would be, maybe the IBC may consider that they extend. There is an extension for the countries that probably are not meeting the number.
All right.
Yes.
Right now, the report now that you have mentioned, 47.6 thereabouts Kenyans as we speak.
Yes.
23.6 male, and of course 24 women.
Women, yes.
What is the impact of these results on the Kenyan economy?
I think the number is the male to female is 0.5. So it's not that big.
Well, some people feel it's humongous.
I don't think if it is. It is it is 0.5.
Okay.
So 0.5, that one can even be reached. You know, within that gap can be reached. I saw the Ministry for Health are saying that that has been contributed the what do we call the kupanga uzazi.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Yes. So the Minister for Health was saying that that has contributed that.
Family planning.
The family planning.
Okay.
There we go. Now I think that that should not be so much the case here.
You do know that we are still battling aspects of unemployment. A lot of youth out here complete their studies or not even educated. Literacy levels being a challenge in the country. Levels of crime, drug abuse, you know, fight against graft bribery still surrounding the country. You know, we are trillions into debt. The economy of the country with this kind of population. It's an increase, by the way.
Sure, it is an increase, and as I said initially, is that the reason for this is that the government may plan.
All right.
So it's my view that probably the government will use this with the big population that the Kenya now has, and the limited resources that the country has. So probably the government will sit down and replan and rechannel its resources that will meet the interest of this bigger population. And that one also will include coming up with ways to absorb the jobless or create for them opportunities that they may thread in those areas.
What do you have to say about Kenyans' reactions? A lot of Kenyans are saying, well, we don't believe this. We are not for this. Is it that Kenyans have lost their faith in the government? Is it that they are less patriotic? Are people just losing faith in governance and democracy? Some of them feel like the poll have quoted before, democracy nowadays is mediocrity. What do you have to say about Kenyans now that you're a citizen? There is a lot of, I don't know, I wouldn't say negativity, but dissatisfaction on the Census 2019 report.
The reactions on the results of Census it varies across the different parts of the country.
Okay.
Especially regions that have reduced in the number of people have raised a lot of concern. However, there are other areas that the population has increased. As today I saw that like the western part, you know, they are saying the growth has been about 2.something%. So
actually, just to interject, the most populous, I think those Bungoma, Kakamega, Nairobi.
Nairobi, yes.
Just to mention a few. And the least, still going back to Taita Taveta, Samburu, back in the, the areas that actually feel marginalized. Marginalized. So as you were saying.
Yeah, so I was saying that as a result of that, the areas with that has increased in populations are, in my view, I think they have received this, they have welcomed the results.
Okay.
And that one also in terms of what they are hoping to get with the population in these elections that are coming. However, the regions like Tharaka Nithi, you mentioned that, we know what Tharaka Nithi has done before. And we expected that they have that big number because that is what has been coming out during elections that we've had.
Absolutely.
However, it didn't work that way during this census. So it actually the opposite. So as a person, as a person from that region, you must get concerned. And not only the normal citizens that are from Tharaka Nithi, also the leaders of Tharaka Nithi. Because you know that how you are treated, especially during the formation of the coalitions and also of securing these political offices, there's something that they call you negotiate. So you come and say that what do you have? Now in politics, you don't have, what you bring on the table is the number of people or in your constituency. The number is about the numbers. Okay. So if you are from Tharaka Nithi, for instance, and the number is that much, even the person you'd want to form coalition with will be reluctant to accept, and that is why why you have to be worried because there are a lot of things that are at risk. Yes.
Wellington, before we close this interview, however, do these counties have a choice? Do they just have to accept and move on? What does the law say? Do they have a chance to challenge it?
I had several leaders, and as you, in the news, you submitted to us that, for example, from the country I've mentioned, they are thinking of moving to the Supreme Court, to the High Court to challenge that. And of course, I think law provides for that.
Okay.
So those that are not satisfied with the results can move on to the court to challenge. However, I really don't think if they can go far, because the results that were done, I think even if they recount, because they are asking for the recount, I really don't know if there could be a big difference in that.
All right.
So probably they don't have a chance at long last.
Yes. That is from your political analysis and science. Thank you so much for being here, Wellington Ouma. We're looking forward to having you more.
Welcome.
And of course, Kenyans are now taking a look at what next after the 2019 census report. It's good to have you.
Thank you.
Now let's just take a look at the latest.